something that we can build over time. The first aspect is to have clarity of vision of what you're trying to do and why you're doing it. The second part is to create an aggressive communication strategy and marketing plan. So that's building off of your vision. The third part is activating a dynamic grassroots involvement program, which means that it's moving beyond just your organization, but involving people from outside the organization down to grassroots level. And then carefully investing in focus and priority resources with a clear return on investment. So to get money, you have to spend money, but you have to use that effectively and think about how you use it so that you actually can get the results back that you need to support your organization. So this is what, when you start out with, the organization leadership must commit and be prepared to work on these different pieces. Now, in my presentation today, I'm going to be working off of a plan that I did about 1.5 years ago with IIQA India to help them think through their situation. We took a day on it, and you'll be able to see how they're coming up with their plan. The basic process goes through 5 pieces. First is looking at psychological success. Second piece is creating a structure of belonging. Third piece is who, why, and how are we going to do it. The fourth piece is recognition and stewardship, which is not an English word, easy English word. It's how we work on donor care, and finally project management. Now, let's take a look through these different pieces. Psychological success involves 3 pieces, which is how do we get rid of fear that is holding us, fear and blockages that hold us back. So oftentimes, if you're having frustration with fundraising, there's something that's going on within you, within your organization, that we have to deal with. Second is, how do we know why people want to give to us? And the third piece is our team ready? Now, here are some myths. I just talked about what are these blockages. These are 4 blockages that we often talk about. One is fundraising is a development officer's job. And that puts a lot of pressure on the person who's the development officer, the fundraising officer. Our emphasis is that it's really everybody's job. And so how do you get not just the development officer, but everybody in the organization focused on fundraising? A second one that's also very true is the letter of proposal is fundraising. That, if you write a proposal, you've done fundraising. Well, we emphasize that the proposal is just the start of the fundraising process, or one aspect of the fundraising process. And so, don't think that you've done that proposal, that you've finished the job. And we have altogether about 8 of these, but it's when we work with the organization, we talk through these different aspects. Another one here, only rich people give. It's very easy to think when you go out with your donations that we have to only go after rich people. But oftentimes, middle income and low income donors are available. And how can you access them? And there's some actual benefits from that. So that's the first part, is dealing with myths. The second part is thinking about why do people give? If you're going to ask for money, you have to understand why they would choose to give to your organization instead of giving to other organizations. And I highlighted just a few of them that I think are very important. Oftentimes people will give if they believe that your mission is important and they want to be involved in it. Another one is that they have community responsibility and civic pride, that this is an opportunity for them to support changes within their community. Another part that we'll be talking more about is that is a way to belong to a group of like-minded people. Many people like to donate because it allows them to be part of your organization. And people really want to be, what I find is that people want to be involved. Oftentimes they have a hard time finding out how to get involved. And donation is one way of helping you let people get involved. So the third aspect is assessing your own organization on how ready you are to develop fundraising. Here we have about 8 different aspects: a realistic plan, the case, a story that we're going to tell people, needs, what do we know who our prospects are, do we have committed leadership, do we have budget, do we have a communication process, do we have a record-keeping system? All different aspects. Now, when we worked with our group in India, we asked everybody on the team what they thought were their strengths and where their weaknesses. And you can see there the pluses and minuses in different parts. Now, interestingly, there's not all agreements. Some people thought what was a strength, what other people would think was a strength, they thought was a weakness, and back and forth. So that creates a basis for a conversation. So that's getting yourself ready to get into a planning process. Now, the second aspect that I talked about is structure of belonging. I mentioned this a little bit just a minute ago, but how do we create a structure for our donors to belong to our organization, to feel like they're part of organization? And this is where we had to think about who it is that we want to have belonging and how to welcome them in. And this in turn involves coming up with shared models for dividing work, making sure that we're clear about our goals and how will we work with our volunteers. So fundraising is a way to invite others to be part of your organization and contribute to your mission. And so, a lot of people think that fundraising is just about getting money, but oftentimes fundraising is a way of getting people involved. I remember there was one organization that the head of the organization used to tell people, don't give me a big pile of money. Instead, give me a little bit each week. That way you will keep thinking about our organization and what is the mission and why we're doing this. And so that's a way of sort of structuring the belonging process to help support their involvement. Now, you also want to be thinking about who are the different prospects and how they can contribute to your organization, because different people can provide different things. Some people can provide money, but you also have people who will be able to provide volunteer services, or may even have a space for doing an activity, different ways. And so belonging can take different forms, and you should be thinking about that when you're working on this fundraising process. So fundraising is going beyond just fundraising. It may be resources, getting resources. A third aspect is belonging developed over time. As person gets involved in the organization, They may do something this year, then next year they may do something more, they may expand it. And so how do you build that relationship, that belonging? We have some models to help think about this. One is the pyramid structure. And in the pyramid, we talk about 3 different levels. One is the donor contact level, one is the growth involvement, and one of the major donors. So down here at the low level, you're going to have a whole lot of donors. And they may only be giving, small donations, but they provide the base for your organization. And then as people get more involved, you start getting larger donations, or you may also be getting some corporate donations. You may be getting grants, and those are somewhat larger. And then the major donations are the either endowment campaigns or major projects types of things. So you should be thinking about how are you structuring your campaigns around these different levels. I sort of tell people the nice thing about small gifts is that we get quick results of it. But the major gifts, it's a longer process. So you have to be aware of that. There's also what we call the 80-20 rule. 80% of the donors will end up giving 20% of the value. And in turn, 20% of the donors will give 80% of the values. And that's okay. It's important it's still important to be getting these 80% in, because they end up becoming the 20% later on. And that's where I say here, small donors become large donors over time. So as people belong to your organization, they're donating, they're working with you. As the years go by, they will expand their involvement. So now we get into the who, why, and how. That's going into the question, who are our stakeholders? Who should someone give to, why should someone give to us now? How do you get key messages in front of our stakeholders? So this is, you got to think through, you got to imagine in your mind who are the donors that we want to have. And think to yourself, why would they want to give to us? And why would they want to give us at this point? And then how can we tell them so that they know about it? And when you find a situation where people are not getting the donations, it's oftentimes in one of these 3 different things. One, they aren't quite clear who are the stakeholders, who would be interested in what they're doing. They don't have a good story about why they should be giving now, or the key message is not getting to them. They don't have a way of delivering that message. It's only when you have all 3 of those in line that you have a chance to get that donation and get the results. One of the ways we do this when we work with a team, this is with India, is laying out the different levels. So here's the grassroots group campaign. Here's a donor campaign, and here's the top level, the major campaigns. Think through what are the different donors and what are our goals for them. Who are they in specific? Say here in the special campaigns, they're talking about Tata, talking about Forbes, they're talking CSR. And then why now? And thinking about what are some of the reasons that this group of people would be interested in donating to us now. And then how are we going to go about getting that message out to them? And in this case, we were working with 3 different groups, and so they went through the same process at each of these different levels. We then broke, after we created this whole plan, we call this a plan on the wall because that's where it was actually done, was on the wall, so everyone could see it and read it. We try to get as much ideas out at this stage, partly because when you're doing this type of planning, what you want to be doing is generating lots and lots of ideas, lots of possibilities, and then you sort through and figure out what exactly are you going to commit yourself to doing, and who's going to be doing that. So this is really the idea generation stage where you're getting lots of ideas out. We then broke people into teams and had them create their little plans from it. So this was sort of the major gift team. And we had them lay out what were their different priorities. And so the main priority was around pilot projects. And then they were going after government international planning and special functions. And they started working on what would be their action steps and who was going to be doing what, when. And then they created a little like picture here to show how they were going to be operating to make this happen. So that was a major gift team. We also had the donor groups. And here they're talking about we need you, and who's the target, and what's the vision. Once again, they created this their focus areas, audio visual presentations, creating a strong leadership team, and their action plan. And this is the Grassroots team. They went through the same process, but once again, it's focused on a different group, because these are the Grassroots tend to be more individuals and maybe even families, things like that. And so the way they're going to be going and doing things is very different. I was thinking about the other day, one of the organization I worked for in Hong Kong had been Heifer International. And they have a wonderful program where they go to schools and invite the children to support the animals. Heifer International, their whole idea is that they give a family an animal like a cow, and that they will grow that, and then when the cow has babies, that they will then pass that on. So what they do on their fundraising is they get the children to help sponsor. So what ended up happening is that the children become the first contact. They then bring in their parents, and they end up building a whole donor base that as the family grows, and that sort ends up building and supporting the projects as they go on. So you can be very creative in thinking about how to work on this grassroots roots level. Here are the three different teams doing their presentations. You can see here, I was talking about the plan on the wall. That's the plan on the wall, and then they're creating their different plans that they were going to work from in the coming period. Okay, and these are a little bit more details with how they the different plans that they come up with that I just had shown you. And this was the team. This, like I mentioned, this is a one-day workshop, and you know, it's sort of a combination of a little bit of training in fundraising process and thinking, and they're actually creating a plan, or at least the beginning of a plan for their own organization. One of the interesting, Shankar, who is the head there, one of his interesting comments after this program was, you know, we have been doing a lot of this before, but we got into a situation that we had one very large donor, and so we tend to focus on that, and we stopped doing some of the development activities of getting smaller donors and thinking about how we're building the ongoing relationship. And this has gotten us thinking again about that and how we can build that relationship. So I think that's one of my big emphasis for you today is how do you build those relationships? One way around that is what we call recognition and donor care, which is once you get a donation, how do you maintain contact? Do you send thanks to them? Do you have information about what projects that donation has been supporting? Do you invite them to come and join different activities? Do you have such things as a newsletter that goes out to donors? And you may even be thinking about, at different levels. If one person donates a certain amount, that they get a certain amount of recognition. But if they are donating more, you might do something a little bit more intensive. And you get, depending upon your situation, you may design that as being very explicit so people can see, oh, if I get, if I donate, another $100, something like that, I will be invited to a dinner or something like that. You can sort of think about what that can be. But the important part is to be conscious about how you are staying in contact with your donors, partly because you want to see them be a donor next year. And I've been talking with some other organizations. One of our colleagues in Australia talked about groups like CARE. They do, in developing countries, they do, donor development, and getting new donors in is difficult. So you really want to care for them because they can keep donating year after year. That's very important. The final piece is project and action planning. And this is where you're moving from thinking about, wouldn't it be nice to be doing something, or these are possibilities, to this is what we're committing to doing. The questions become, who has ownership for these goals? Who are our team leaders? What are our accomplishments going to be for this year? What are we going to do over the next 90 days? And then making sure that you pull the team together and check with each other. How are we doing? One of the things that can be very helpful is realize that donations happen at different parts of the year. This is in the case of the U.S. What we tend to find is that a lot of the donations come in April and June, and in October and December. October and December is particularly because that's the end of the tax year, and so people have donations, and it's also a time of giving, and so it's people are more open, and so you sometimes want to organize your fundraising such that you may have a special project where everybody in the team will, or everybody in the organization will take 2 weeks and just focus on fundraising and calling as many people and letting people know what opportunities are. And so you really get the whole organization involved. What I mentioned earlier, the myth of just having a development officer and thinking that development officer is responsible for all our fundraising. It's very challenging to have that sort of situation. What you can do better is really get everybody involved. Not that they're doing it full time, but taking a specific period and just intensely doing fundraising. And then it becomes an exciting activity where we challenge each other to get out there, take a little bit more chances, and see if we can find some people, some new donors who will make a difference. Okay. I spoke a little fast, and I didn't even stop and let Ishu feedback any of this, and so maybe I should let Ishu talk a little bit about what I just talked about.
Maybe no, Mark. Maybe it's going. I think there is no problem so far. You can continue, and at the end, I will just summarize. So,
well, yeah, I sort of gave my rundown, and so maybe we can ask people what sort of questions are coming up, and what would you like me to talk more about?
Okay. के प्रश्नहरु छन् अब म अहिलेसम्मकोमा चाहिँ के प्रश्न छ भन्ने चाहिँ गरौँ नभए म अलिकति समराइज गर्छु जस्तो मार्कजीले चाहिँ यो सायद 1.5 वर्ष अगाडि चाहिँ यो आइसिए इन्डियामा हामीले चाहिँ आइसिए चाहिँ 36 वटा देशमा चाहिँ हामी काम गरिरहेछौँ भने हामीले विभिन्न समयमा चाहिँ विभिन्न आइसिएसहरुसँग पनि यसरी काम गर्ने क्रममा चाहिँ आइसिएसको एउटा केस आइसिए इन्डियाको चाहिँ एउटा केसलाई चाहिँ यहाँ उहाँले शेयर गर्नु भएको छ जस अन्तर्गत चाहिँ ऱ्यापिड पार्टिसिपेटरी फन्डरेजिङ को कार्यक्रम चाहिँ अब एउटा चाहिँ कार्यक्रम जुन चाहिँ 1 दिनदेखि 2 दिनसम्म चाहिँ हामीले यो कार्यक्रम गर्न सक्छौं जस अन्तर्गत ऱ्यापिड भन्नाले चाहिँ 1 दिन हैन 1 दिन अथवा 2 दिनको चाहिँ हामी वर्कशप गर्ने र पार्टिसिपेटरी भन्नाले हरेक अर्गनाइजेसनको चाहिँ सबैजनालाई इन्भल्भ गरेर इन पिपलको इन्भल्भमेन्ट हैन हरेक टिम मेम्बरहरुको इन्भल्भको साथमा चाहिँ एउटा फन्डरेजिङ प्लान हामी डेभलप गर्न सक्छौं र फन्डरेजिङ को कुरा गर्नु पर्दाखेरि बेसिकली 5 वटा 5 की स्टेजेसको बारेमा चाहिँ मार्कले चाहिँ यहाँ हाइलाइट गर्नुभयो यो प्रेजेन्टेसनमा जस अन्तर्गत चाहिँ विभिन्न कुराहरु जस्तो साइकोलोजिकल सक्सेसमा हैन जस्तो धेरै मिथहरु धेरै हामीले जुन बुझिरहेका हुन्छौं मिथ यो फन्डरेजिङको बारेमा जस्तो फन्डरेजिङ भनेको चाहिँ एउटै व्यक्तिको जिम्मेवारी हो जस अन्तर्गत चाहिँ कोही हामीले फन्डरेजिङ अफिसर भनेर हायर गर्यौं हैन अथवा डेभलपमेन्ट प्रोजेक्ट प्रपोजल राइटर हायर गरे पनि उसैको मात्रै चाहिँ यो चाहिँ फन्डरेज गर्ने चाहिँ जिम्मेवारी हुन्छ भन्ने जस्ता एक्जाम्पलहरु देखि लिएर प्रपोजल लेख्नु नै प्रपोजल लेख्दैमा र प्रपोजल सबमिट गर्दैमा फन्डरेज हुन्छ भन्ने कुरा देखि जस्तो एक्जाम्पल र धनी मान्छेले मात्र दिन्छन् भन्ने कुराहरु चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ हाम्रो गलत बुझाइ छ र त्यो भन्दा बढी फन्डरेजिङको चाहिँ धेरै ठूलो स्कोप छ हामीले चाहिँ फन्डरेजिङमा चाहिँ निरन्तर एकजनाले मात्रै हैन यस्ता विभिन्न एक्जाम्पलहरु देखि लिएर उहाँले चाहिँ जस्तो हेफर इन्टरनेशनलको कुराहरु गर्नुभयो कसरी चाहिँ ग्रासरुटमा चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ कम्युनिटीमा गएर क्रिएटिभ कामहरु गर्न सक्छौं भन्ने एउटा एक्जाम्पल पनि उहाँले राख्नु भयो भने सँगसँगै केयर इन्टरनेशनलले काम गर्दा चाहिँ डोनर रिटेन्सनको कुराहरु डोनर केयरको कुराहरु हैन जो स्पोन्सर जुन जसले चाहिँ हाम्रो संस्थालाई हामीले गरिरहेको कामलाई चाहिँ सपोर्ट गरिराख्नु भएको छ उहाँहरुलाई चाहिँ हामीले राम्रोसँग बुझाउन सक्नुपर्छ र हामीले के कस्ता काम गरिरहेका छौं भने उहाँलाई चाहिँ कम्युनिकेसन गर्ने केयर गर्ने र निरन्तर रूपमा चाहिँ उहाँहरुको सहयोग आइरहोस् भन्ने कुराहरु पनि उहाँले यहाँ राख्नुभयो सँगसँगै र आइसिए इन्डियाकै कुरा गरौँ अथवा यहाँ चाहिँ उहाँले एकजना के भने जस्तो धेरै संस्थाहरुमा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने जस्तो एउटा मेजर डोनरले चाहिँ सपोर्ट गरिरहेको हुँदाखेरि अरु फन्डरेजिङ पोसिबिलिटिजहरुमा चाहिँ फोकस नगरेर च्यालेन्जेसहरु आउन सक्ने कुराहरुलाई पनि उहाँले हाइलाइट गर्नुभयो र सँगसँगै एउटा कुरा चाहिँ जस्तो प्लानको कुराहरु हैन र प्लान गर्दाखेरि गोल हामीले कसरी सेट गर्ने कसले जिम्मेवारी लिने रेस्पोन्सिबिलिटी कुन टाइमलाइनमा चाहिँ हामीले काम गर्ने र हामीले पनि सँगसँगै फन्डरेजिङ फर एनजीओस को उद्देश्य पनि के हो भने हामी चाहिँ होल संस्था नै फन्डरेजिङ अर्गनाइजेसन हुनुपर्छ कुनै एउटा व्यक्तिले गरेर हुँदैन र एउटा अर्गनाइजेसनले नै चाहिँ फन्डरेज गर्ने इन्भल्भ हुने र यस्ता यो 80-20 को रुलहरु जस्तो धेरै चाहिँ यो 80% ले चाहिँ 20% मात्रै हामीलाई दिइरहेको हुने जसको 20% ले चाहिँ हाम्रो 80% चाहिँ हाम्रो जति पनि हाम्रो प्रोजेक्ट कस्टहरु चाहिँ बियर गर्ने यस्ता एक्जाम्पलहरुको कुरा पनि उहाँले यहाँ राख्नु भयो भने यो चाहिँ एकदमै ओभरअल बेसिकली फन्डरेजिङ गर्नको लागि संस्थाले चाहिँ कसरी प्लानिङ गर्न सक्छ र सबै अर्गनाइजेसनको टिमले मिलेर इन्भल्भ गरेर चाहिँ हामीले प्लानिङ गर्न सक्छौँ र यो वर्कसप गर्नको लागि हामीले चाहिँ एकदमै पार्टिसिपेटरी रूपमा एकदम चाहिँ हामीले कार्यक्रमहरू गरेर प्लान क्रिएट गर्न सक्छौँ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ उहाँले राख्नुभयो। र मैले अर्को एउटा के भन्न चाहेँ भने मार्क सँग हामीले चाहिँ अगस्टमा चाहिँ यो ट्रेनिङ कार्यक्रम गर्दैछौँ र तपाईँहरूलाई पनि इन्ट्रेस्टेड छ भने चाहिँ इन्ट्रेस्ट हुनुहुन्छ भने चाहिँ तपाईँहरूले हाम्रो कम्युनिकेसन डिपार्टमेन्टमा हाम्रो पूर्णिमाजीलाई चाहिँ कन्ट्याक्ट गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ। वी विल बी होस्टिङ training program on technology of fundraising, rapid participatory fundraising in August. So if you are interested, please join or please contact us. र यसमा अब केही प्रश्नहरू छ भने चाहिँ हामी प्रश्नहरूमा जाउँ। So Mark, you are done with your slides, right?
Yes.
Yes. So केही प्रश्नहरू छ, केही जिज्ञासा छ भने चाहिँ हाम्रो फ्लोर ओपन छ, प्रश्नहरू राखौँ।
Greetings, all of you. Thank you, Mark, for the wonderful teaching. We are benefited. I'm Sabina Chamling, speaking from Nakiput, and I have been running an NGO named Rise and Shine Nepal, and we have been running. We have been working among the widows of our communities for the last 10 years. And thank you so much. Thank you for the organizer fundraising for NGOs. I'm interested to join upcoming trainings of August. So it would be in Zoom or physical presence?
It will be a virtual training.
Yes, it will be a virtual
at this
training.
point, it's not possible for me to travel to Nepal, unfortunately.
Because of the situation, yeah?
Yes.
So I have one question. In our context in Nepal, especially in organization, there is board and there is operation head, and mostly the operation head is the responsible person for the fundraising, but the board work as a authorized person, just because their service is volunteer. That's why in our practice, the whole team, all board do not involve in fundraising for the organization. In our context.
Mm-hmm.
But if all do the same, it would be good.
I have experienced situations like that, and Hong Kong is an example of that. Also, they separate very strongly the board from the operating heads, but oftentimes when we do programs, there may be opportunities to invite them to participate, realizing that they may not be implementing, but they may have ideas or they may have resources.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why we have people on the board is because they have these resources and interest. And as they go through the planning, they start volunteering some of that. So it's a question of how to structure. The other part is so that's looking up within the organization, is how these senior people, how can we invite them to be involved in thinking about the fundraising process. The other part is to look downward in the organization and how to get some of our volunteers more actively involved in fundraising process.
Yeah.
And both those can be very,
yeah,
very helpful.
Sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You wish?
I wish all board member, all team involved in fundraising, the organization would grow very rapidly.
Well,
Najib, may I?
that's where the participation in planning is very, very important.
Yeah.
Because we're inviting them to come and contribute ideas. And sometimes, you know, and if that's all they do, it's wonderful. And they will find it interesting because they will also learn more about how the organization is working. But then they may also choose to volunteer more things. Oftentimes what you find, even with people like board members, is they didn't know how to contribute. They didn't know how to, you know, they would have done more, but they didn't know that there was a need, or they didn't know how to contribute. And as they have these conversations, they start seeing how they can assist.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark.
Sabinaji, please invite your board members to attend the fundraising for NGOs classified talks, and also in Mark's training in August. So I think it would be a good platform to, you know, like to mobilize and to encourage board members to participate in fundraising and share their expertise. So I would like to request Sabinaji to invite board members and everyone.
Okay. Thank you for your suggestion.
Yes, thank you, Sabinaji. Yes. अरु के प्रश्नहरु छ, जिज्ञासा छ भने पनि राखौं। र सँगसँगै हामीले चाहिँ अब मार्कको चाहिँ एकदमै लामो एक्सपिरियन्स रहेको छ हैन। अघि नै पनि भने जस्तो अमेरिका, उहाँ चाहिँ अमेरिकन हुनुहुन्छ, तर लामो समयदेखि चाइनामा चाहिँ रहेर उहाँले विभिन्न फन्डरेजिङ र फेसिलिटेसन कामहरु चाहिँ उहाँले विभिन्न संस्थाहरूलाई, विभिन्न ठुल्ठुलो कर्पोरेट हाउसदेखि लिएर एनजीओजहरूलाई पनि उहाँले फेसिलिटेसन गरिराख्नु भएको छ। सो स्पेशली टेक्नोलोजी अफ फन्डरेजिङ, यो पार्टिसिपेटरी फन्डरेजिङमा रहेर चाहिँ फेसिलिटेसनहरु प्रोभाइड गर्ने र छ। र यो केही प्रश्नहरु छ भने राखौं। So Mark, would you like to share more about your experience? The forum is open even to you.
Well, one of the things that I'm finding very exciting right now is you know, all the new ideas on fundraising that are coming up, and how that matches with, you know, the stuff that I've just been talking about. Because we have all the, you know, the social media, even things like using Zoom, you know, to have meetings and gather people together. It's creating a lot of new opportunities to create belonging, to get people, you know, involved in our organizations and figuring out how they can contribute. And so that's one of the things, that's a new topic that we've been adding into our training sessions, is thinking about how to adjust to this change. But you know, the underlying, it's that the real question is, you know, that people make their decisions about is what's your mission? Do we trust you? Do we want to be involved? And making sure that people know about who you are and what you're doing, and inviting them to be involved, and creating a space where they can see how that can happen.
So definitely this is the presentation is really short, you know, like we have a limited time, and we will be conducting a full-fledged training in August. So we have a question here: is the virtual training free? No, the full-fledged training will not be free, but it would be very you know, like nominal. So so how can we get enrolled for August training? So as I mentioned earlier, Purnima, please contact Purnima ji. So Purnima ji will be sharing the information about the medium and like the dates and everything. So it is now, we have decided that we will be conducting in August, but so the date will be circulated, date will be announced soon. So please follow our social media pages and stay in touch. Provide your email address. Purnima will be sending all the details and everything. So Marks, like we have been receiving many thank you notes as well. Yeah.
Isuji,
Hazur.
can I ask a question?
Please. Yeah.
Hello, Mark. Namaste. This is Sarita. I work in a NGO called Asmita Women's Publishing House, which is the one and only feminist magazine in Nepal. But we do not publish a magazine at the moment. We do research kind of work. Asmita has been working as a leading advocate for women's human rights and gender equality and empowerment with and through communication. But being as a NGO, we always face problem in raising funds because these days कस्तो हुन्छ भने त्यो फन्डिङ दिने फन्डिङ एजेन्सीले चाहिँ 25% चाहिँ क्याश राख्नु भन्छ कि पहिला नै अनि त्यो कारणले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामी जस्तो एनजिओलाई चाहिँ एकदमै जुन 25% अगाडि नै राख्नुपर्ने जुन पोलिसी छ नि अहिले विशेष गरेर चाहिँ मल्टी के भन्छ यो बाहिरबाट दिने फन्डिङहरू चाहिँ 25% राख्नुपर्ने भएकोले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामी जस्तो संस्थाहरूलाई चाहिँ त्यो 25% चाहिँ राख्न एकदमै गाह्रो हुन्छ र त्यस्तो खालको संस्थाहरूलाई चाहिँ मार्कको के त्यस्तो स्पेसिफिक कुनै सजेसन छ भने चाहिँ दिनुहुन्छ कि भनेर
So is there any specific, like what she suggested that Ashmita, the organization is basically works for the women rights and advocacy. So Ashmita भन्ने चाहिँ पत्रिका भन्नुभयो सरिता जी
पहिला पत्रिका निक्लिन्थ्यो अहिले चाहिँ हामी रिसर्चको कामहरू गर्छौं
okay so Ashmita is named as a only feminist magazine that they used to publish, and now they are more focused on research and advocacy activities. Like what they are facing challenge, one of the major challenge they are facing is the fundraising. And normally when they apply for the funds, like many donors, they ask them to contribute the 25% of fund as a cash, like cash contribution or the matching fund, something like that. So that has been really very challenging for them. So she is asking, like, what would you suggest for the organization like us, like who are facing to manage that sum of money at the initial phase only? So yeah.
Well, that's part of the advantage of having a donor base who are contributing. One of the advantage of small donors is they tend to be not tied to projects, and when we run our organizations as only getting funding from large donors, they oftentimes they restrict our use of the funds and require like you said extra 20% 25% of our own money. And so how do we get that funding base? One is that's what we're suggesting here, is that is start working on building the donor base that will contribute. And sometimes what happens is that they will grow up. They start initially doing small amounts, and then they, as people develop over the years, they'll be donating larger amounts, and we'll support you as your organization develops.
Sarita ji, म राखौं यसमा अलिकति मानले भन्नुभएको कुरा धेरै बुझ्न त धेरै क्लियरै छ. I'll just translate Mark briefly.
Okay.
Okay. So यसमा चाहिँ बेसिकली डोनर डेटाबेस बढाउँदाखेरि चाहिँ फाइदा हुन्छ हैन. जो ठुलो डोनरहरुलाई मात्रै स्पोन्सरलाई मात्रै हामीले फोकस गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ यस्तो खालको च्यालेन्जेसहरु देखिने भयो र र सानो सानो स्मल अमाउन्टमा स्मल चङ्क जुन डोनेसनहरू आइरहेको छ सपोर्टहरू आइरहेको छ त्यस्तो सपोर्टहरूले चाहिँ ठ्याक्कै अर्गनाइजेसनको अब्जेक्टिभलाई अर्गनाइजेसनको मिसनलाई चाहिँ सपोर्ट गरेको हुन्छ कि नत्र पर्टिकुलर प्रोजेक्टलाई भनेर आएको हुँदैन र त्यस्तो सम अफ मनीले चाहिँ हामीले ठुलो डोनरहरूलाई चाहिँ चाहिँ हाम्रो अर्गनाइजेसनमा इन्भल्भ गराउन सक्छौँ त्यही भएर एज सुन एज चाहिँ जति धेरै हामीले डोनर डेटाबेस बढाउन सक्यौँ त्यति नै फाइदा हुन्छ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ यसमा आयो यस प्लिज मार्क कन्टिन्यू
ईशुजी डोनर डाटाबेस भनेको चाहिँ अब मल्टिपल डोनरहरू भनेको हो के अरे अरू पनि डोनरहरू धेरै डोनरहरू खोज्नु भनेको हो
हजुर हजुर मार्क सो क्यान यू प्लिज हाइलाइट अबाउट व्हाट इज डोनर डेटाबेस एक्ज्याक्टली सो आस्किङ donor database so okay I will just put it donor database भन्नाले चाहिँ बेसिकली एउटा डोनर सँग मात्रै हैन एउटा अर्गनाइजेसन एउटा फन्डिङ अर्गनाइजेसन सँग मात्रै सीमित नभइकन हाम्रो आफ्नै अर्गनाइजेसनको पनि मल्टिपल डोनर्सहरू चाहिँ रेगुलर गिभिङ डोनरहरू हुनुपर्छ भन्ने चाहिँ हो र सकेसम्म जस्तो एउटै अर्गनाइजेसनले मात्रै हामीले लामो सपोर्ट गरिराखेको छ हामी ढुक्क छौँ भने भोलि त्यो अर्गनाइजेसनले हात झिक्ने बित्तिकै चाहिँ हाम्रो सस्टेनेबिलिटीमा चाहिँ अप्ठ्यारो पर्न सक्छ त्यही भएर डोनर डेटाबेस बढाउने भनेको चाहिँ आज हामीले एकजनासँग काम गरिराखेका छौँ भने कम्तीमा पनि भोलि अब आउने केही दिनमा चाहिँ केही महिनामा केही वर्षमा चाहिँ हामीले 10 जनासँग 10 वटा डोनरसँग चाहिँ काम गर्नुपर्छ र निरन्तर आइरहोस् भन्ने कुरा हो डोनर डेटाबेस भनेको हाम्रो अर्गनाइजेसनलाई दिने चाहने व्यक्तिहरूको चाहिँ पोटेन्शियल डोनरहरू चाहिँ बढाउँदै जाने भनेको
हुन्छ धन्यवाद मलाई अघि सरिताजीले राख्नु भएको कुरामा चाहिँ मेरो बुझाइ चाहिँ अब यो सत्य पनि नहुन सक्छ हैन मेरो बुझाइ चाहिँ अब डोनरहरूले सधैँभरि हामीमा नै के अरे उनीहरू डोनरमा नै भर परोस् भन्ने चाहँदैन एक दिन चाहिँ हामी जुन अर्गनाइजेसनमा काम गरेका छौँ हामी आफ्नो खुट्टामा उभियोस् सस्टेन होस् उनीहरू आफै लोकल रिसोर्सहरूबाट नै उनीहरू एक दिन चाहिँ सस्टेन हुन सकोस् भन्ने इच्छा हुन्छ त्यो भएर उनीहरूले तिमीहरूको पनि कन्ट्रिब्युसन राख न यति हैन 25% तिमीहरू पनि आफै लोकली रूपमा रेज गर 75% चाहिँ हामी हाल्छौँ भन्न खोजेको होला जस्तो लाग्छ मेरो बुझाइमा चाहिँ
हजुर पूर्णिमाजी हजुर त्यो नै हो तर कस्तो हुँदो रहेछ भने यो एनजिओ भनिसकेपछि नन प्रफिट मेकिङ भयो नि त अनि कुनै पनि हामीले जस्तो अब कुनै पनि पब्लिकेसन निकाल्यौँ भने हामीले त्यसलाई बेच्न मिल्दैन हैन त्यसलाई चाहिँ फ्रीमा डिस्ट्रिब्युसन गर्नुपर्ने कारणले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ सस्टेनेबिलिटी चाहिँ त्यहाँ चाहिँ अलिकति गाह्रो भएको हो कि जस्तो उहाँले प्रोजेक्ट दिनुभयो त्यो प्रोजेक्टमा जुन हामीले गरेर हामीले निकाल्यौँ नि त्यसलाई चाहिँ बेच्न नमिले कि प्रफिट चाहिँ नपाउने भएको कारणले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ त्यो समस्या चाहिँ भइरहेको हो
ईशुजी उहाँलाई ट्रान्सलेट गरिदिनु न
हजुर हजुर मैले यहाँ च्याटमा लेखिदिइसकेको छु सो मार्क बेसिकली लाइक वी आर जस्ट एक्सप्लोरिङ द पोसिबल वाइ donor requested for the 25% of contribution so basically it might be because for the ownership because like the donor want the organization to sustain and explore the resources itself so we can continue this kind of like interaction and for this kind of interaction we have like arranged the question and answer session session every Friday. So every Friday from 11 to 12, we invite like if you have any concern or like concerns about the project development or fundraising, so you can come over there and share your concern, and we will interact among ourselves. We will try to find the solution for that challenge. So if not possible, then we will go to some expert and then again we will try to like find the possible solution for that. So so the and Mark
मलाई लागेको
Hazir sir.
Well, that's what part of what we're doing when we do the planning process is that it really allows each organization has to create its own plan to deal with its situations with the different types of donors that might be accessible, and what sort of challenges they had meeting it. And but what you end up finding is that there's a lot of creativity that's out there, and you can, what oftentimes at one point feels like a blockage then becomes an opportunity.
ओके, म अलिकति हाम्रो सरिताजीले कुरा उठाउनु भएको थियो नि, मलाई आफूलाई लागेको र मेरो आफ्नै अनुभव म सेयर गर्छु हैन। जस्तो अब एनजिओले चाहिँ फाइदा हुने काम गर्नै नहुने भन्ने पनि होइन। अब संसारभरि यो एउटा छलफल पनि चलिरहेको छ हैन, सेल्फ फाइनान्सिङ को कुराहरू, सस्टेनेबिलिटीको कुराहरू हामीले बाहिरौँदै देख्छौँ। एनजिओले चाहिँ विभिन्न खालका सामानहरू बनाएर बेच्ने, त्यसबाट 2 पैसा कमाउने संसारभरि चलिराखेकै छ। त्यसैले बिल्कुलै अब एनजिओ भनेपछि चाहिँ केही पनि त्यो थोरै पनि पैसा पुरै गर्नु हुँदैन भन्ने होइन। डोनरहरूले नै सबैले एनजिओ चाहिँ सस्टेनेबल हुनुपर्छ है, आफू पनि केही सानोतिनो इन्कम हुने खालको काम गर्नु भन्ने खालको इन्करेजमेन्ट पनि हुन्छ हैन। अब हामी सोझै पत्रिका बेच्न नसकौँला एनजिओबाट, अब त्यो पनि नसकिने भने त होइन। तर के भने पत्रिकामा लागेको कस्ट हैन, कस्ट चाहिँ हामी क्लेम गर्न त पाउँछौँ नि त अरूसँग। तर जस्तो अब डोनरकै पैसामा हामीले पत्रिका छाप्यौँ भने चाहिँ त्यो बेच्न मिलेन। तर हामीले आफ्नो एफोर्टबाट छाप्यौँ भने पत्रिका बेच्ने भन्नु परेन, तर पत्रिकामा लागेको कन्ट्रिब्युसन, सेल्फ कन्ट्रिब्युसन हैन, अब यति कस्टको हिसाबले यति पर्छ भनेर चाहिँ त्यस्ता प्र्याक्टिसेसहरू त धेरै छन्, त्यो गर्नु नै पर्छ है मेरो विचारमा है।
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
No,
thank
Mark,
you.
actually, I was just referring my, I think my point to Saritaji's concern. She was asking about the sustainability, financial sustainability of NGOs. Because in most countries, even in Nepal, NGOs are not allowed to do some business, okay? But at the same time, NGOs are encouraged to do some self-financing efforts. So this may not be business, but this is also business. Self-financing, how to sustain, sustainability. So because I know Asmita right from the beginning, they have done very good job. I know, I think the editors of like 20 years, 30 years before. So they have published so many issues, and that was very, very popular in the past. I don't know at present the situation. So they are publishing the magazine, and these days, print magazines are not becoming that popular because everything is gone to online. So, and her concern was, as an NGO, they cannot sell or ask money from the customer. But at the same time, they have to sustain their own organization. This is the dilemma, no? So I have seen like all these big organizations like UNICEF or other INGOs, they have open outlets in many countries. They sell their products, their souvenirs. Probably you have also seen in many countries. I have seen in many countries such type of outlets where we can buy their products. This is also business, but they are also NGO. So I think we need to be a little bit more creative and find the ways by which we can sustain our organization. So always asking the donors for support is, I think, also not the right choice. We have to find our own way. We have to enable ourselves so that we don't need to, fully depend on the donors also. This is my opinion. Thank you.
But when you say donors, are you talking? Yeah, there's different levels of donors, which is these large donors.
Yeah.
But then
Small donors,
also they
family
maybe
donors,
small level donors.
Yeah. So I mean, in general, all type of donors.
Yeah.
So in Nepal, we can also see that kind of efforts. For example, we have started fundraising for NGOs. this is also to sustain the organization. Though we train NGOs, we support NGOs ourselves. We are going to support around 40, I think 30, 40 NGOs in the coming 2 months. We have generated some fund ourselves. So this is actually, we are in between. But at the same time, we can also sustain our organization. So we support other organization, but if we are not sustainable on our own, then how we can sustain or support others? So I think all organizations, NGOs should be very, very creative and find the ways so that they can become sustainable.
Tatto sir, namaskar.
Yeah, namaskar.
हजुरलाई एउटा सानो जिज्ञासा
हजुर।
यस्तो कम्पनी दर्ता गरेर चाहिँ के रे नाफा कमाउने काम गर्न सकिन्छ नि नेपालको कानुनमा?
कम्पनीमा
जस्तो एनजिओ
सकिन्छ, त्यो त छुट्टै भइगयो नि, एनजिओ छुट्टै भयो, कम्पनी छुट्टै भयो।
एनजिओलाई चाहिँ दिँदैन, अब नाफा कमाउने काम गर्न मिल्दैन भन्छ टोटली हैन। अब डोनेसनमै बाँच्नु पर्ने, तर कम्पनी चाहिँ हामीले दर्ता गर्यौं भने चाहिँ त्यसबाट चाहिँ नाफा कमाउन मिल्यो।
पाइयो नि त। अब एनजिओ पहिला त एनजिओले पनि इन्भेस्ट गर्न पाउँथ्यो। अहिले 5-7 वर्ष यता त्यो नियम हटाइयो के, अनि एनजिओले इन्भेस्ट गर्न। अब तपाईले भन्नु न, अलिकति ओभरहेड काटिराखेका हुन्छ, यदि प्रोजेक्टहरु भयो भने अथवा काम गर्दाखेरि 2 पैसा जेनेरेट भयो भने केही चाहिँ तपाईले ओभरहेड त लिनुहुन्छ नि त। त्यो पैसा उतिखेरै नसिद्ध्याएर नबाडेर त्यो चाहिँ संस्थाको लागि पनि त जम्मा गर्न सकिन्छ नि त, कति केही पैसा त बाँचेको पैसा। त्यस्तो पैसालाई हामीले भनौं कुनै एउटा भनौं संस्थालाई पनि फाइदा हुने, दुईटालाई फाइदा हुने खालको कामहरुमा लगाउन सकिन्छ। एनजिओले गर्ने कामहरु धेरै छ नि त, जसमा केही फन्ड रेज हुन्छ है। त्यस्तो हामीले खोज्नुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्छ। हामी चाहिँ यो फन्ड रेजिङ फर एनजिओ को माध्यमबाट त्यस्ता खालका उपायहरु पनि धेरै सिकाउँछौं र हामीसँग एसोसिएट भएका सबै संस्थाहरुको चाहिँ फन्ड रेजिङ स्ट्र्याटेजी हामी डेभलप गर्छौं मिलेर, र फन्ड रेजिङ स्ट्र्याटेजीमा चाहिँ त्यस्ता खालका कुराहरु हामीले राखेका हुन्छौं है। हस्, थ्यांक यू। Sorry, Mark, you did not understand. I was just sharing my thoughts, because this is very, very important issues. Self-financing of NGOs. NGOs, I think, in my view, should have some support on its own, rather than always asking others for support. So in many countries, government support, like in Germany or other European countries, government supports the NGOs. But in our case, I think we don't have that system. So we should be more creative, I think. There are lots of opportunities to be more creative in our context. Yeah.
Do we have Achyut ji is raising hand.
Okay.
Unmute.
Sir, good evening.
Good evening.
अघि हजुरले भनेको कुरामा म त्यसको टपिक चाहिँ एकदम मैले धेरै वर्षदेखि I'm waiting for a long time in this case, because other country like Europe or developing country, when the people can give some money or some donation, the receipt will be taken by the government tax office. So I think we hope to talk with the Nepal Rashtra Bank, with all the NGOs, because I have a lot of people come to donate my organization, but they don't have any benefits. So in Europe, there's so many people helping for the social organization, because when you donate something, then they give feedback, reduce the tax from the government.
Tax deductible. I think Mark knows about this. We don't have that system here.
Yeah, so even India and Asia, many Asian countries, they don't have. But hope to we can make our joint meeting and with the Nepal Rashtra
Yes.
Bank. Rashtra Bank will
Social Welfare
be
Council, yeah, Social Welfare Council.
it will be great, because otherwise in the coming
Yeah.
future we couldn't find any donor, because
Exactly.
they don't have any feedback or benefit from them.
Yeah, we
So
should. I think we should work on that together.
yeah, because I have a social organization. My partner are from Italy, France, and South Korea, and they
Mhm.
earn money very easily, because when they give the receipt, when you donate, the receipt will be working for the government tax, reducing one from your salary, from your other beneficiary. So this is really important for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
In the Western country, there is oftentimes the practice of giving a certain percentage to the church.
Mhm.
And what's
Yeah.
now happened is that people are also encouraged to donate to other organizations like NGOs.
Yeah,
And you know, maybe what you're going to be working on, you know, in some respects is helping build up that practice of giving to support.
Mhm.
yeah. I got also someone from America. This is Nepali. He is the pastor in America. Then he said, "Come to he would like to donate us the big money, but they will like to. I have to convert my children to a Christian. So this is not possible, sir. We are in a multiple. We are
No,
a multiple religion in this country.
no,
And
I'm not suggesting, I'm not suggesting to do
yeah,
religion. I'm saying this is where the practice of giving came up in the US
yeah,
was
yeah,
in the church.
Yeah.
I know that. I know that.
But now it's yeah, that's why there's a practice that's moved into the NGO community to support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so
I,
much.
thank you. I think time is running out, and
Yes, that's what,
already 20 minutes we
yeah.
crossed. So maybe Suji, we need to conclude, because we
Yes,
have something to
that
share
is what
after
I'm
this.
requesting you. Let's conclude. So
Okay.
thank you
Okay.
so much, Mark. Thank you so much, everyone, for the active participation. And we will be hosting a full-fledged workshop, the training program. And thank you, Mark, once again for your valuable presentation. Though it
pleasure.
is though it is very short, you know, like time, but it is very helpful. So as a tradition, Yunisha, could you please share the, so as a tradition, we basically, you know, like we present a certificate of appreciation to our speaker. So it is taking time. So this certificate is presented to Mr. Mark Pixley for sharing knowledge and ideas and technology of fundraising, rapid participatory fundraising, ICA's experience. Thank you so much, Mark. So please receive this certificate virtually. So because everything is virtual, so we are also handing over the certificate in virtual. Once again, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.